Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're doing a focused exploration of Nuscale Power Corporation, SMR.
Our goal today is really to unpack Nuscale's current situation. We'll be drawing on some recent reports and analysis.
Right, we want to give you a clear picture of where they fit in this rapidly changing energy world. We'll cover financials, their edge, risks, opportunities, the whole picture.
And the info we're using, it's pretty current. A due diligence report from 2025, plus an update covering things right up to April 25th, 2025.
Okay, let's get started then. Nuscale, founded back in 2007. Their big idea, to push nuclear power forward, making it safe, scalable, reliable, and carbon-free.
That's the core mission. And their main product is this Nuscale power module. It's a small modular reactor, or SMR, specifically a pressurized water reactor type.
Which is a pretty well-understood technology, right? But they've miniaturized it.
Exactly. Miniaturized, enhanced safety, designed for modularity. Each one of these modules generates about 77 megawatts electric.
And the key is you can scale it up, put multiple modules together.
That's the real innovation here, the scalability. You can have just one module or stack them up to 12 for a total of 924 megawatts.
That flexibility sounds like a big deal. And it's not just for plugging into the grid, is it? The reports mention other uses.
No, not just grid power. They're looking at powering data centers, which are incredibly energy hungry, and various industrial processes too.
That makes sense. The demand for clean, reliable power is everywhere.
It really is. And the modular approach means they could potentially deploy these in places where a giant traditional nuclear plant just wouldn't work. Think remote areas, specific industrial sites.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and look at the financials. The reports mention strong revenue growth, but maybe not the detailed figures.
Correct. Specific numbers aren't broken down in what we have, but the trend is noted as positive growth and strategic progress.
But they've also reported net losses, which impacts their earnings per share negatively. So profitability is still a challenge.
Yes, that's often the case with companies in this kind of development phase. Heavy investment up front in R&D, getting regulatory approvals. It costs a lot before you start making consistent profit.
And with no profit, there's no PE ratio to look at currently, but this next part really jumped out at me. A debt-to-equity ratio of 0%.
Zero debt. That's quite remarkable.
Yeah, no debt at all, and a really strong equity position over $453 million. That seems like a very solid base.
It absolutely is. It gives them significant flexibility, without the pressure of servicing debt. It's a strong foundation.
Although we don't have the specific free cash flow figures, and the return on equity is negative 38.37%, which aligns with the net losses they've reported. It's below average for profitable companies in the sector.
Which is expected at this stage.
Yeah.
But they did get a significant cash injection recently.
Right, those warrant exercises in December 2024. That brought in about $227.7 million in cash. Can you briefly explain what that means, the warrant exercises?
Essentially, warrants give holders the right to buy stock at a specific price. When they're exercised like this, especially on a large scale, it means those holders bought stock and the company received that cash.
So a big boost to their cash reserves. That must help extend their runway for development and getting those commercial deals going.
Definitely. It strengthens their financial position considerably while they work towards profitability.
Okay, let's talk competitive advantages, because this seems to be where Nuscale really stands out.
It's probably their biggest asset right now.
They are the first and currently the only SMR technology to get design approval and certification from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC.
And that NRC certification is a massive hurdle. It takes years, incredible amounts of technical work, and frankly, a lot of money. Having that approval is a huge differentiator.
Like having the key to the gate while others are still working on the lock, basically.
That's a good way to put it. It gives them a significant first-mover advantage, particularly in the U.S. market. It signals that their design meets very rigorous safety standards.
So they're positioned as a leader, pushing forward with commercialization, building partnerships, and the timing seems good, with the whole energy sector shifting towards cleaner sources.
Absolutely. The push for decarbonization, for reliable baseload power that isn't weather-dependent, SMRs like Nuscale's fit right into that narrative. Their scalability helps too.
Okay. Let's look at recent developments. This report goes up to late April 2025. They had an earnings call scheduled for May 12th.
Right, the Q1 2025 call. That will obviously provide much more current detail on their progress and financials. We'll have to watch for the outcomes from that.
Looking back at 2024, besides the warrant money we mentioned, They were making progress on that project in Romania with Fluor.
Yes, the RoPower Doise power plant project. They're working with Fluor on the Phase 2 front-end engineering and design study, the FEED study.
And a FEED study is basically the detailed blueprint, right? The technical plan before construction.
That's it. It firms up the design specifics, costs, timelines. Seeing progress there is important. Shows potential for international deployment, not just U.S. focus.
Also mentioned is their standard design approval application, with the NRC still on track for mid-2025 approval. Another milestone.
That builds on the initial certification, and they're also getting ready on the manufacturing side.
Ah, yes. Their partner Doosan Ability is forging long lead materials for 12 power modules, so gearing up the supply chain.
Which is crucial. You need the components ready when the orders come,
Yeah.
and they're actively talking to potential customers.
Including in some interesting sectors, data centers and artificial intelligence companies.
That's a potentially huge market. AI and data centers need massive amounts of reliable, clean power. Nuscale's tech could be a really good fit there.
Is it just the carbon-free aspect or other things too?
Well, carbon-free is critical for many of these tech companies' goals,
Yeah.
but also the reliability, the scalability to match their growing needs, and the inherent safety features of the design for critical infrastructure.
Okay, so lots of positive movement. But the reports also mention a challenge. Actually, securing firm SMR deals here in the U.S. has been difficult so far.
That seems to be a key sticking point right now. Despite the NRC approval and the technology's promise, translating that into signed contracts in the U.S. market is taking time.
And maybe related to that, there haven't been any big jumps in the stock price or trading volume recently. Feels like investors might be waiting.
Waiting for those Q1 earnings, perhaps. Or waiting for news of concrete deals being signed. Analyst sentiment seems to reflect that cautiously optimistic. They see the unique tech advantage.
But tempered by the pace of commercialization. It's a bit of a wait-and-see mode, maybe.
It appears that way. There's recognition of the potential, but also awareness of the hurdles in bringing a novel nuclear technology fully to market, even with regulatory approval.
Let's zoom out to the wider industry context. The SMR sector itself is gaining traction, isn't it? Driven by that energy transition.
Definitely. There's a lot of interest globally in smaller, potentially more flexible nuclear options. Competitors are developing designs.
But Nuscale has that certified design in the U.S. already, that first mover advantage we talked about.
That's the key difference currently. Others are still navigating the complex regulatory pathways that Nuscale has already successfully completed for its initial design certification.
And the demand drivers seem solid: data centers, industrial uses like hydrogen production potentially replacing older fossil fuel plants.
The need for clean, firm power is growing. SMRs are seen as a potential solution to meet that demand reliably.
Okay, let's explicitly talk risks and opportunities. On the risk side.
Well, ongoing regulatory hurdles are always possible, even post-certification. New requirements could emerge. Delays are always a risk in large projects.
And that difficulty we mentioned in actually landing those firm U.S. contracts, that's a big one.
Absolutely. Also, the continued need for significant capital investment until they're commercially self-sustaining. Supply chain risks, can they get all the parts reliably?
And of course, public perception around nuclear energy, that's always a factor.
Always. Acceptance is crucial for project development.
But on the flip side, the opportunities. That strong cash position is a major plus.
Gives them breathing room, supports continued R&D and project development efforts.
And those talks with potential AI and data center customers, if those turn into deals, that could be a massive growth area.
It really could. Tapping into that high-demand sector would be very significant for them.
So if we boil it down to strengths and maybe red flags or areas to watch, strengths are clearly innovation leadership, that first NRC approval.
Strong strategic partnerships, like with Fluor and Doosan.
And the technology itself, scalable, modular, flexible.
Right. And the areas to watch or potential red flags. Ongoing regulatory processes, always uncertain. The competitiveness of the broader nuclear and clean energy sectors.
They need to keep executing well.
Precisely. Execution is key now.
Looking ahead then, the immediate focus is that Q1 earnings call and watching for any further regulatory progress or, crucially, contract announcements.
Those are the near-term catalysts investors will be watching. The longer-term risks remain tied to regulatory shifts and overall market adoption of SMRs.
So wrapping this up for you, Nuscale Power seems to be at a really fascinating point. They've cleared huge regulatory hurdles. They've got a solid cash position from those warrants.
The potential is definitely there, especially with clean energy demand booming and these new power-hungry sectors like AI emerging.
But that challenge remains, turning the technological lead and regulatory approval into firm, signed deals, especially in the U.S. market. That's the piece to watch closely.
What really stands out is having that first mover certified status in what could be a game-changing energy sector. That upcoming earnings call on May 12th should give us more insight into how they're navigating things.
It's a company with impressive technology, facing the complexities of bringing something new to a critical market. We definitely encourage you to keep an eye on Nuscale's developments. Watch for news on contracts, regulatory updates. It's a story worth following as they try to reshape the energy landscape.
Indeed. Their journey could tell us a lot about the future of nuclear power.
And if you found this exploration valuable, please do subscribe, give us a like, and maybe leave a comment with any questions you still have. We always appreciate hearing from you.